Shoots and Scores Hockey Talk, where we talk everything hockey. I am John.
I'm Mike.
I'm Chris.
All right, guys, let's go. Now, our first topic for discussion this evening is the Eastern Conference. I started preparing for this episode on Wednesday morning, so just to let you know. And I was looking at the overall stats. Detroit in 6 games, they were 5-1 and on top of the Atlantic Division. The Lightning were on the bottom at 1-3-2. The Red Wings had 10 points and Tampa has 4. I know it's very early, guys, but is Detroit really that good? And is Tampa really that bad? Mike, why don't you start us off? What do you think? Is Detroit really that good? And is Tampa really that bad? I know it's early as shit, but I have to ask.
I don't think Detroit's as good as their record is. However, I think they're a better team than what they were last year. I think their goaltending has really surprised this year by playing above expectation. So that's, I think, one of the big reasons why the record is what it is. Plus, I mean, their offensive guys are doing their part and putting the points up. So, yeah, I think they're playing a little bit over their head, but I still think they're a decent team, and they should be a wild card contending team by the end of the year. As far as Tampa goes, wow, didn't see this start coming. I mean, Vasilevsky, no wins on the season. If you had told me before the season, after 7 games, Vasilevsky wouldn't have any wins, I'd say you're crazy. Yeah, they're just not scoring goals. The offense has really dried up. And I mean, the game last night, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but in Chicago, I mean, they lost 3-2, and almost towards the end of the game, Chicago got a shot on goal, and Vasilevsky kicked out a rebound pretty far from the net that you'd think it would have been safe, but Donato picked it up, put it in the open net, and yeah, I did not see Tampa doing this. As far as what moving forward, they clearly can't be any worse.
That's true.
I've got to believe that they're going to turn this around, but when you get off to a start like this, it starts to become a challenge getting into the playoffs when you start this slow. So I still think they get in, but it's going to be a lot closer than what we thought maybe prior to the season.
Okay. Chris, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, Detroit over the years, Yzer plan has been, a lot of BS. Surprised he's held on that long. I guess being a Detroit legend helps.
He's a legend. Yep, that's right.
But one thing that he's obviously deviated at the start of the season, because in the past few years he's given out terrible contracts to guys, in their 30s, try to be, I guess, influenced in the dressing room or whatever. But it hasn't panned out. This year they've had 3 rookies in their lineups, and that's probably helping boost the start. But are they as good as a record? No. They got to play somebody first.
Don't you say that about?
I don't want to say Toronto. Toronto's not really lighting it up either. So they got to play somebody. But Tampa, I feel like if this was in January and Tampa went whatever it is 1-3-2,
1-3-2,
we wouldn't even be talking about it, right? But I know start of the season, that. Everybody's got the focus on it. Who's doing well? Who's not? I think that's just a blip on the road. Tampa Bay will be fine, and they'll be one of the top teams in the Atlantic Division when it's all said and done.
I know that, if you look back at the past, Tampa's been a very good team for a lot of years. Could they be the New York Rangers of last year or this year? Is that possible? What do you think the percentage chance is of that? They just chump out and can't do anything.
I think it's low. Yeah. They don't. If I remember correctly, they're only missing 1 player, so they're not having a bad start because injuries. Now Vasilevsky didn't play in the preseason, and there was some talk about he wasn't 100%, and he definitely doesn't look as good as he usually is. But the team is healthy. It seems like I'm sure they'll. It's just a lull. Just at a beginning lull, they'll be fine. The Rangers had more of a mess with leadership and players not feeling wanted, like Trouba and guys like that. So I think that whole created a disturbance in that team. That's why they kind of fell apart.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Anything to say to that? Add to that, Mike, or are you good?
No, I'm pretty much on the same boat with that. Like I said, and like Chris said, nobody would be saying anything if Tampa went through this stretch in the middle part of the season, but
Right. No,
it's
it's true.
magnified because it's the start of the season.
Right.
And with that being said, are they going to be the New York Rangers this year? I think the next 10 games you might be able to determine something like that if they really go off the rails, but they should get this back on track and still make the playoffs. I mean, they're still a contending team. They have been for years. They'd be buyers if they needed to fix anything. So
And look at the division. Toronto's 500. Florida's barely 500. No one's pulling away. There's Detroit. Yeah, fine. Montreal lost there yesterday, so yeah, they can win 2 games and they're right back in it. So yeah, this is nothing.
All right. Okay. Well, let's go on to our second topic. You guys shot me down pretty good there. So let's see what you do with this one. The Utah Mammoth are 5-2 after 7 games. Now they have 10 points, are tied for second in their division. Can Utah keep this up? If so, if you agree with that, who the hell did they knock out of the playoff race? Mike, I'll let you go first.
well, I mean, as far as keeping this up, I don't know if they can keep this up, but I still think that they're a pretty good team. And
You said that at the beginning of the season too, that you thought they were a good
yeah, I
team.
think that their young core has really come together with, and they don't have a ton of veterans on the team, but Schmaltz, he's probably one of their veteran guys. And I mean, he's had a good start to the year. I mean, they scored 7 goals last night against St. Louis, and
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Cooley and Genther and Paterka, and so they've still got a very young core, but I think they're the real deal. As far as, like I said, are they going to go 5-2, like, and maintain that type of play? No, it's not. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think that they're a team that could be making a playoff spot this year. And as far as who they knock out, St. Louis and LA are the first 2 teams that come to mind, but more likely St. Louis, whereas the Pacific Division, LA might get into the Pacific Division just being in the top 3. So the Pacific Division is a little bit weaker.
And LA for you is like the Capitals are for Bagel.
I just don't believe. I don't believe they didn't do enough to improve their team. It's status quo as to last year, pretty much. Um, you got to see, all these other teams made moves to improve, and they basically did the status quo. So um, that's the thing with LA, and I don't believe in Darcy Kemper. I mean, yes, he's played well last year. His track record is a little bit too much for me, where he's really hit or really miss, and I don't
He
think
won a
he's going to
cup,
be.
right?
Well, yeah. And then what did he do the year after?
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing it out there. He
That's
won a
the
cup.
thing. So
He held on to a mug the year after.
yeah. So I mean, he was terrible in Washington. They had to dish him off. So I'm not a believer. And you know what? He may prove me wrong. He did last year, but
That's right.
yeah. But out of the teams that I think that Utah could knock out, St. Louis is probably the prime one, and then LA would be the second one if another team steps up in the Pacific Division.
Well, Chris, same question here. Can Utah keep this up? And if you believe they can, who do they knock out of the playoff race?
Yeah, LA's for sure is probably in their crosshairs. Minnesota, I think Minnesota, St. Louis, it could be one of those two. Be the other potentials.
Oh, really? I thought you guys sort of liked Minnesota at the beginning of the season.
But Utah, like Utah/Arizona has been terrible for what, 10, 12, 15 years?
Well, as long as they've existed.
They've accumulated so many good young players, and guess what? They're finally all here, right? And most of them, last year, Keller kind of introduced himself as being a star player in the league. There's the other kid now who looks like Gunther, looks like he's going to be a stud. Cooley had a big game last night, right? So the stars are finally aligning. for that franchise. And yes, I think they're going to be a playoff team. They still have some holes probably in the back end, but I think they're definitely LA at LA's Cody CC and Emerson in their back or Edmondson on the back end. It's just ridiculous, and they're just getting roasted for it. And but Utah's got a lot of good young players, and they should be winning. It should be their time, and It seems like they've hit on enough draft picks now to get there.
All right. Okay. Fair enough.
It's becoming a young man's game now. Like all these young guys, they're getting paid now earlier than ever, for one. And they're developing at a much faster rate than they used to in the past. So, I mean, they can bring some of these young guys in and they just fit right in. Whereas, and I want to say eons ago, but a long time ago, they would slowly develop these guys in the minors before bringing them in. But with the salary cap and their salaries being really low when they come in, it's more of an incentive to bring them in a little bit earlier than before if you want to be able to acquire talent at the trade deadline and things like that. So having a lot more cheaper contracts on your team, the better as well. Yes. So, and I mean, Utah is the prime example. Most of their guys are still on their entry-level contracts. So makes it a little bit easier to hand out some paydays to other guys to keep that team going.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, let's go on to our third topic because I've been dying to talk about this. And that's the Calgary Flames. And the reason why I've been dying to talk about it is because I'm tired of them being so bad or bad for so long, I guess. What is wrong with this team, guys? I mean, they have a 1-6-1 record, just awful. I mean, I thought Dustin Wolf was a really good goaltender. He's a 1-5-1 record goalie this year with a 3.61 goals against. How much of this is his fault? And, should Calgary do anything to help this team along, or is it just unfixable? And by the way, just so I can say this here, Calgary has scored a whopping 13 goals in its first 8 games. That's not going to win you many games.
No. The Flames are they're like the Washington Capitals of the West. They really, really leaned on and won a lot of games because of great goaltending from Dustin Wolf. And last year was the first time I saw Wolf, and when Carolina played him, I was like, yeah, he's legit. I could tell he's legit. So I would not place any blame on him, and they extended him, gave him the big contract, right? So he's there now. That team, they're probably the one team right now of all the bad teams that really, really could use a star player on it because they don't have any. They don't have a star player. They don't have a rookie. They don't have anybody that can come in. To me, McKenna to Calgary, if the Stars line up that way, that's a franchise that deserves it and probably needs it really, really bad from my point of view. Kadri and I think Anderson's probably going to be on the market here. They'll probably jettison those two if they can because the league has no second-line center. So I'm sure they'll find some suitors for that. But no, if I'm Calgary, I'm just going with all the young kids and the young players and hope you can get lucky in the draft.
Mike, do you follow those?
What do you mean? Don't they have Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee? I thought they were going to Calgary to get them into the playoffs.
I knew that the Morgan Frost thing was coming.
I think they're called Flyer rejects. I think that's the terminology when Flyer players get traded.
Every team that gets them tends to lose. So, I mean, like Chris said, this team they need to rebuild. They can't keep trying to plug holes with guys that aren't good players on the teams they're coming from. And I use Frost and Farabee as an example. I mean, they brought them in last year to give this team a boost. Did the exact opposite. Huberdeau, he had a decent year last year, but this year he hasn't really done that much. So the offense is really, really weak on this team. They don't get enough consistency throughout the lineup. If one line's scoring, then none of the other ones are, it seems. So So Dustin Wolf, I mean, he's kind of the man on the island, I guess might want to say here. He's not going to win games on his own with his team. Like Chris said, Kadri, Anderson, those guys are going to be on new teams at some point. Like Chris said, they need to get a really good draft pick and hit on it. And I mean, after McKenna this year, I mean, there's still a little bit of a time to see what is going to happen with the rest of these guys after McKenna. Because I mean, I can't really say who stands out and who doesn't at this point. We'll know more throughout the season, but they need to get some younger guys that can step in and produce, because what they've currently got going on is not going to work anymore.
And Scorch Earth would be also moving on from Mackenzie Weegar, right? That'd be Scorch Earth move, because they would get a lot of assets for him.
Mm.
All right. Well, I wanted to ask that about Calgary because, I mean, we don't talk about Calgary very often. Usually we're talking about Edmonton, obviously, and Winnipeg, and maybe a little bit of more Vancouver.
There's nothing sexy about Calgary. Nothing.
No. Well, that's part of the problem. But Wolf is, I mean, he had a fantastic year last year. Man, they came so close to making the playoffs. It was crazy. And I remember we were coming on the show here week after week going, Calgary's still kicking. They still have a chance. And I think that as a group, we were quite surprised by it. So,
well, I mean, last year, I think they were in that final spot for a long time, and then they lost it. And then I don't know, maybe they just haven't recovered from that happening.
I mean, it's possible psychologically.
Well, exactly. I mean, when you get so close to something and then it falls apart, it's tough to come back from it at times. Like when Toronto had that series against Florida in the bag, and then it all kind of fell apart on them. So,
yeah, don't remind me, please. Jeez, man, just because your Flyers are bad, don't mean you have to remind me of how bad the Leafs are.
Misery loves company, Whitey.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that question kind of leads into this fourth question, and so I want to ask you both: which team has surprised you the most this year? Now, it could be, you're surprised in a good way. Like, wow, the team done so much better than I thought. Or it could be in a bad way. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this team is so awful. I mean, you don't have to, but if you could pick one that we haven't just talked about, but you can if you have to, right? What do you say, Mike?
Well, if we're avoiding the teams that we've already talked about, I think a bit of a surprise so far, and I know it's really early, is the Chicago Blackhawks. I wouldn't have guessed them being 4-2-1 or whatever it is, but they've got a decent record for their team. That's a little surprising to me. They've been getting, there's two lines that have been scoring. The goaltending has been good. The defense has been decent. So, Chicago's probably a little bit of a surprise for me as far as a team that's done better than expected. If you want to look at the opposite side of a team that has done a lot worse than I thought, well, and I know we already talked about it, it was Tampa Bay. Did not see that coming. Other than that, I mean, there's some minor surprises, I guess, but those are two that kind of stand out a little bit.
Okay, Chris, what do you say?
I was going to talk about Chicago too. Shout out to Claude saying they were going to be the worst team, and we all agreed. But I know there's analytics trickling through already this early in the season, which is kind of hard to really focus on. But overall, Chicago defensively is not doing well, and it's Spencer Knight. Spencer Knight is the one, almost like Dustin Wolf for the Calgary Flames last year, right? He's really carrying the mail, as they say, at this point in time. So we'll see how much he can continue, but I expect some regression there.
So if he was ever to get injured, it'd be game over.
I don't even know who their backup is. Because Mrazek's gone, right? I think
it's Soderblom. I think he's still there.
Soderblom, yeah. They've been in trouble. Remember, Knight was a first-round pick, right? He had high pedigree coming in, and now he's getting his chance to shine.
All right. Okay.
So that was a surprise. Being bad? Who's being bad?
Well, there's a lot of teams.
Vancouver they're scuffling, right? I saw some crazy talk about people saying that they might buy out Pedersen because he hasn't got back to where he was, right? There's I don't know what is going on out there in Vancouver land, and I think Hurdle got hit. I don't know if it's a serious injury, but they lack centers, and yeah, Vancouver. I thought they would step back up this year, and so far there's no signs of life on that team.
Maybe the Rangers and the Canucks should put their teams together and have one team. Maybe they'd have a much better team.
Possibly.
The Canucks traded for Lucas Reichel today from Chicago. I know Chicago is looking to move on from him, so now he's got a fresh start. Maybe, I mean, he was a highly rated prospect, so maybe he can kind of revive his career in Vancouver playing with some different guys.
Well, it'd be nice if he did. I always like to see the Canadian teams doing well, but Vancouver, just like you said, they seem pretty lackadaisical, or it's what it seems like anyway.
Yeah, they got to get Pedersen fixed. They got to figure out what's going on there. He's supposed to be their superstar. He looked like a superstar 3 years ago. I don't know.
Right. Well, usually we only have 4 questions, but I came up with a 5th one I really wanted to ask, and that is, I want to talk about Sidney Crosby. I mean, he has 11 points in 8 games. What a shocker, right? I mean, the guy's like, 78 years old or something.
Plus or
and
minus.
the Penguins are 6-2. To me, that's a shocker.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting that. Can they keep up this at all? Like, do they have any hope? Did you see this coming? Now, before you guys answer, I know that last year one time I had brought up the question about Malkin. It was early on, and Malkin he started out pretty hot. And I asked you, I believe it was you, Mike, that I had asked, is Malkin going to get 40 goals this year? I think I said that as one of the not irrelevant game, one of the Hockey Profit questions at the end, I believe, is how it went. And you're like, no, he's not going to get 40 goals this year. Come on, what are you talking about? And you were obviously right, and he slowed way down. So is this a little bit of that?
To a certain degree, I think so. I mean, he's clearly overproducing at this stage of his career. He's known to be injured every year, so it's only a matter of time before he gets hurt with something and misses games. On the other side of it, I guess, if you want to look at it, this is the last year of his contract.
Oh, it is. That's right.
It is. So, is he playing for a new contract in the NHL? Is he playing to maybe? And I don't know if he wants to leave Pittsburgh or not, but if he does, then playing at this level will definitely entice him to some contenders that want to make a push for the playoffs. Talk is he wants to finish his career in Russia as well. So I don't know. Maybe he's just extra motivated. Maybe, but I don't think you're going to see this type of production keep up all year. It's definitely going to tail off. And that goes for the whole team. I mean, you got some of these guys, Brazeau, what has he done in his career? Nothing. And now he's like a point-a-game player. That's not going to hold up. So some of these guys are overproducing, which makes Malkin and Crosby's points maybe a little bit inflated. But once these guys come down to earth, it'll balance itself out. But as far as Crosby goes, I mean, I'm not shocked that he's putting up points like this. He's that good. So
yeah, he's only done it his whole career, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like I said before the season, he'll still be a point a game guy. What was it, 90 points? Is that what we had talked about?
90 points, yeah.
Yeah. So I still see that happening.
Okay. Yeah. Last year, I believe he had 91. And I think the year before he had 96. I forget exactly, but it's all in that same range. So very, very close. So I just wanted to bring that up because 6-2 Penguins, that was pretty surprising to me. I was quite surprised by that.
With their goaltending, the same as last year, basically, except they've got Seelovs who played in the minors.
The Vancouver backup goalie.
So but Jari has played decent as well, so
Yeah. Since
that's a
last
little
year, end of
surprising.
last year. Yeah.
All
No,
right.
the Pittsburgh Penguins were the only team that was actively trying to get worse in the offseason. So this is definitely not what they want. They want to sell off, and they're probably
Yeah.
happy that Malkin's doing well and all these guys do well. Um, and kind of go back to where I mentioned that I think Calgary needs a McKenna. The one franchise in NHL that does not need McKenna is the Pittsburgh Penguins. They deserve to be a crappy team for the next decade. So let's hope that doesn't happen. I hope
All
they,
right.
they've had their superstars for 40 years. Enough's enough. It's time to move on.
All right. Tell us how you really feel.
That's my Pittsburgh Penguin rant for Pittsburgh Penguin fans out there.
Well, I don't think there is any Pittsburgh Penguin fans out there that listen to us. Well, yeah, I
Well,
bet
we
there
got to
is.
get Mustang Mark to listen.
All
You listen to
right.
one, you listen to this rant, and then he's done.
That's true. Okay. All right. Well, that's it for the questions, guys. But we're going to go on to the Hockey Profits segment where I say that you two are the Hockey Profits and it's my show and I can do whatever I want. So, Chris, are you ready for the Hockey Profits segment? You and Mike, I guess. Mike, too.
Yep.
All right.
Let's
Number
go.
one, Chris, if you could have any player in the NHL on the Carolina Hurricanes besides McDavid or Draisaitl, who would you take?
McKinnon, Makar.
Oh,
I'll take
yeah.
Makar.
Take Makar. That's a great
Yep.
question. Mike, is Owen Tippett on the trading block? It seems like some people believe that he is.
I don't think so.
No? I mean, he's a pretty consistent 20-goal scorer, isn't he?
Well, not a huge fan of Owen Tippett. I find he's way too streaky. But yeah, he will get about 25 goals. But his contract, 6.5 million for a 25 goal guy that gets most of them on the power play. I don't know. I don't see teams taking on a long term contract like that. So
You'd have to
I
be
would
a
say,
center.
yeah, I would say he's probably not on the trade block, but I'm sure that the Flyers would listen to some offers if people were calling about him.
Okay. All right. Number three, Chris, are the Nashville Predators, another team we never talk about, going to be any better this year? Right now, they are 2-3-2. Last year, they finished 30, 44, and 8 with 68 points. Are they going to be any better?
They'll be a little better. Saros looks really, really good so far at the start of the season. So having elite goaltending like that'll, and they really bought him out last year. So yeah, it wouldn't take too much for them to get in the 70s and 80s, but they're still not a playoff team. I think. Who's the coach, GM guy there? I can't think of his name, but he's done a terrible job last 2 years ago, bringing all these
Man.
terrible contracts and old guys, thinking they were just a couple players away from being a
Barry
contender.
Trotz, isn't it?
Barry Trotz. Horrible job. Should have stuck with coaching, not being a GM.
Highly respected in the coaching category.
Yeah, well, Stamkos and Marchessault, and he just is like, no, dude, what are you doing? And Brady Shea, gave him the big contract, but Nashville will be better because of Saros, but they're not a playoff team.
All right. Okay. Number four, Mike. Winnipeg has a record of 5-2. Can they win their division again this year, Mike? I know it's a tough call out west, but what do you think? What do you think their chances are?
It's not unlikely that they would win their division.
I mean, they look pretty decent.
Their main competition is what, Edmonton? So
yeah, I would say, yeah.
It's possible. It's one of those two teams that would win that division.
Okay. All right. Chris, number five. How well has the Seattle Kraken looked this year? How good have they looked this year? What do you think?
They've been mostly on the East Coast, and they've done pretty good. Still not a playoff team, so no one's really breaking out as a star player, right? It's another one of those franchises that just doesn't have, him on the roster.
Well, the more franchises you have, the less of the hymns you're going to see.
That's true, but they've had a couple of good picks to get some hymns, and they haven't hit on him. Yeah, they're like a vanilla team. Like honestly, overall, but they did pretty good on the East Coast. We'll see when they get back home, but not a playoff team, no.
All right, okay. And finally, Mike, and I'm sure that the two of you will be glad when this is all done with. Of course, this has to be a Flyer question, and I had to dig hard because I was looking for something a little different. But will the Flyers move for a contract extension with Zegras sooner rather than later?
That's a good question. I would like to think that they try to work something out to keep him.
So he's one of the players that you like, right?
Yeah, I like Zegras. I think he's, a really talented player. I mean, he does have his, warts in his game. Defensively, he's not a very strong defensive player, but he's creative and he can provide some offense. And
you need that.
Desperate for some offense. So if they can get him at a reasonable contract and do it in season, I think they will. A lot of these players tend to not negotiate during the season, though. So, I mean, I would think the Flyers would want to. So, it's basically, I think, probably up to Zegras, I would guess.
Is he a free agent at the end of the year?
Yeah, restricted free agent, but
restricted. Okay, all right. So there's no.
But they'd still have to, pay him because his contract right now is. For the production that he's had over the last couple of years, it's a pretty steep contract.
Is it $7 million?
What's that?
Is it $7 million?
I don't know exactly if it's that much. I can quickly.
Yeah, go ahead, look it up. No harm in looking it up.
They can qualify him, right, to keep his rights down the year.
575. So if they qualify him, I believe that's close to
it'll be
$7 million.
Yeah, it'll be 6. It's 10% or something like that. So I think it'll be 6.
Yeah, I believe it's 10%. So
yeah.
So not a fan of Tippett, but like Zegras a lot better.
I do like Zegras more than Tippett because when you're looking at the two of them, I think Zegras is capable of creating more individually than Tippett. Tippett is more reliant on, I feel, what players can create for him. So I'll always take the guy that can create offense on his own.
Yeah, right. Tippett needs somebody to feed him in those spots. He's not a distributor. He's not doesn't make his teammates better.
That's correct. But we pay him like he does.
Well, that's not your fault. I mean, you're not the one that came up with the contract.
I wish I were.
I was going to mention the Montreal Canadiens because they started out pretty hot, and but I mean, we talk about them so much, I didn't want to bring them up, and I didn't want to upset anybody, so I didn't.
Good choice.
But we may talk about them next week because I wish I had seen that game between Edmonton and Montreal. I wish I had seen it. I didn't get a chance to see it, but whatever. So, is there anything else you guys wanted to add to tonight's discussion before we call it an evening?
Did you see the highlights last night of the Quebec Nordiques and the Hartford Whalers going at it?
No, I did not.
Those uniforms popped. Both sides popped watching.
Oh, yes, that's right.
It looked real good.
Yeah.
Visually pleasing.
Is that why you have the Hartford on right now there, the Whalers hat? Yeah.
That's right.
How old is that hat?
Oh, this is a newer one.
They still make them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're making money. That's why they wear those jerseys.
I think
Tom Dunn down in North Carolina making some money.
I think they're doing another game like this at some point too. I don't know.
Yes, when the Nordiques, when the Avs come to Carolina, they're going to wear the jerseys again.
Yeah,
and then Carolina's they're wearing Whalers 3 times. Can't remember the other game's in January or something.
Well, it'd be something for us to talk about, maybe. I mean, Hartford Whalers were a pretty boring team back in the day.
Boring.
I will say, though, Ron Francis, one of the most underrated stars ever in the league.
And a terrible GM.
The guy,
I
never said that he was a good GM. Never said anything like that.
Good player, terrible GM.
is one of the most underrated players I ever heard of because of all the points that he had. And just no one ever talks about the guy. So whatever.
He was always the guy behind Mario, basically. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and that's why he was kind of overlooked. But
without him, if Mario doesn't have him, then Mario doesn't do what he does.
They don't win those cups without Ron Francis. Yeah. Without that trade, which decimated Hartford, pretty much sent them on their way to Carolina.
Yep.
Was trading Ron Francis and Ulf Samuelsson away for Cullen and Zalapsky.
Was it Zalapsky?
Yeah.
Oh, didn't they get Grant Jennings or something in that trade too? I'm sure they got another part. Didn't they get Grant Jennings in that trade too?
Yeah, Jennings in there too. Yeah.
I think I remember Mike drafting Zalapsky there.
Oh, I think we all did at some point. He was always good for 40 to 50 points.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, back in the day. Yeah, that's great. All right, guys, we're going to leave it there for this evening. Good discussion. Like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you all next week. Later.
Later.
Bye.